Awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and get started. So today, well, first of all, my name is Josh Rickard, and today we're going to talk about SOC-faker. So a little bit of background about myself. I go by Msadministrator. It means Microsoft Administrator, not Administrator. I had to make that clear. So I have a background ranging from, I did help desk all the way up to, system support, a system support analyst, and then got into more the blue team as a security analyst, and did digital forensics and incident response. I love to automate things as much as I can, whether it's my lights to, just writing some cool tool or open source, whatever. And that leads up to, I like to call myself an open sourcer. I know that joke is may be good or not, but anyways, that's enough about me. Yes, that is me in the unicorn mask. All right, so today we're going to talk about SOC-faker. SOC-faker is a Python package, and it's used to generate fake data for security operations, IT operations, really anybody that needs just fake data around security, whether that's in testing or development, or just you want to, flood an application with a whole bunch of data. There's a lot of different use cases around it, but it's all around security data products, as well as just general data formats that are common among security tools and what we see on a day-to-day. So what it all kind of began around is needing the ability to have kind of that real-time data in a lot of different systems. What we basically boil it down to is integrations. A lot of my job is to just automate products or tools. How can I connect all these different pieces to make something actually useful? And a lot of that time, I need a lot of data to do that, to test all the different variants. So sometimes if you don't have a live action environment, you have to kind of generate this data on your own. So it all boils down to integrations. One of the main reasons that I actually needed SOC-faker was for personal use, but it started expanding, and I started looking at it from a usability outside of my scope. And we work again where I work for a SOAR vendor. I'm a security research engineer, but I work with lots of other security products. Pretty much any security product you've heard, I've touched or played with it in some capacity. And a lot of it was around like, hey, how can we test this functionality, and how can we actually take that data and replay it for other use cases, whether that's trying to build out a detection rule, and I needed to actually, figure out, hey, I have this incoming data. Instead of setting an entire environment to kind of replay all that information, I can use SOC-faker to kind of help me along that way. So, and I'll explain that here in a minute. But so, who would actually use SOC-faker? Really anybody, but the primary focus again is going to be definitely security, IT, again QA. If you had to QA a product, you needed fake data to kind of pump in to make sure that your application is working right. That's one use case. Whether product, they just want to see the format of other data, or just need kind of random information. CTF designers as well. Anyone actually giving a presentation, and I'll show you that. And really, overall, anybody. And it's all about just generating this data without actually having all the interconnected systems that require, you have to set up to actually, generate that data. So here's an example. This is a pretty big example, but it's an example. So imagine you had a Windows system, right? Not Windows 95 or 98, but you had a Windows system, and you wanted to actually get that data into, let's say you're Elastic, and you wanted to test, let's say we're running like Atomic Red Team, or any kind of emulation or simulation, platform or tool, but we're also, we have to, set up a Windows system first, right? You have to have that kind of configured and deployed. Next, you're probably going to have like Sysmon or Procmon or whatever else on that system, and you may even have to have like a Windows, or Elastic, let's say FileBeat or WinLog or yeah, WinLogBeat. Um, you have to configure that. That also means that now you have to have, your log, whatever it's Splunk or Elastic. In this example, I'm using Elastic. And you have to have, the forwarder. You may have to send it off to your Logstash, which then, forwards it on to Elastic and so on and so forth. So, you have all of these kind of different components to build out. And this is really time consuming, right? Like setting up a Windows system, it's pretty easy, but if you're not used to it, um, you don't have a robust like deployment architecture or MDT or SCCM or any of that or any sort of automation around it, that can be time consuming. And then configuring everything, and then also setting up your log, infrastructure, whatever that is. You're still going to have to do that because you need it, but all that configuration is extremely time consuming. Instead, what we can do is we can actually use soc-faker. And so again, it is a Python library, works for Python 2.6 and higher, but don't use it. It's pretty much Python 2.6 is end of life. I don't know why I still support it. I just do. And you should be on Python 3.6 or higher. But you can install it via pip3, and you can actually install it just from source at the repository. It's at github.com/swimlane/soc-faker, and I'll show you that. But you can even just, run those commands. CD, you have to go into that directory and then run Python 3, set up that py, install. Pretty easy to install. All right, so I'm going to actually jump into a demo here to kind of give you an explanation of what all of this nonsense I'm spewing means. One sec. All right. So with soc-faker, again, you can go to the repository itself. There's a lot of different documentation. And one of the biggest pieces about it is all the different types of data that you can actually fake. And you can see that there are a lot of bigger categories that like we call like agent or an alert, right? Or an application, or even just computer information or containers, so on and so forth. So you can kind of drill down into there. But one of the coolest things I think is the actual Windows event logs. You can actually generate raw XML and JSON of Windows event logs. There's not all of them, I'll tell you that. I'm actually building a repository now to try to categorize a lot of these logs, but there's no definitive source for here or what all the logs look like. But you can actually generate a fake PCAP. You can actually generate like product information, like for Elastic or Qualys Guard, vulnerability management, or even ServiceNow requests. And so on and so forth. So there's tons of information, and it's pretty easy to use from a usability standpoint. And that's where I'll go next. First, I wanted to show you that there is a read the docs. Again, it's the same kind of documentation that's in the repo, but if we actually like take a look at the application, these are all the different types of data that you can actually fake. Application, here's like an agent, like name and type and version. If you wanted to get computer information like disk and memory and platform and the operating system and all this type of just random information, you can pull all that from there. All right, let me share out other screen. Keep doing that. All right, now we're gonna. Can you see my terminal? I'm guessing. Can't. Sorry. But the first thing that you want to do is go ahead and install it, and you can just use pip3 if you have it installed, or pip or whatever, and you're just going to install it. Say pip3 soc-faker or install soc-faker. It's going to go ahead and pull kind of the latest down. and all the kind of dependencies and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, typical change. What is this? Okay. So one of the things that you're going to be able to do is actually just run soc-faker from the command line. So it's a built-in command line tool as well. So you can install it and use the package like within your own code base. But for just kind of general data that you wanted to retrieve from uh, just from your perspective quickly. It has a full command line. You can actually see the different types of groups as well as different commands and values that you can actually select. So there's built-in help and all that with it. So if you run into any issues, then you'll be able to access it pretty easy, and it'll kind of spit out all the information of what you should be doing instead. So, for instance, if I wanted to, after I've installed soc-faker, I wanted to just grab like, let's just grab some file information, right? So I can return all objects or all a JSON basically, or a dictionary of all file attributes, right? You can just return that entire object. But I can go even further, where I can just say, give me a list of I have to spell it right, hashes. And so it'll give you back this random generated hashes that you can use in, maybe you need to upload it to a website, or you need to just have some example data. Let's say if you're doing a presentation, you can just pull that information, directly, and it's all generated randomly. So additionally, with like file, you can get, timestamp, right? And you can return just like a random timestamp in the future. You can actually pass in other variables there too. But we can actually, let's get, trying to think of full path. So it'll just give you a random Windows syspath that's pretty common that you would find, that you can then again forward on to whatever product or tool or integration that you wanted to actually use. Besides like file and all that, we'll actually look at, I'm trying to think of a better one. Let's say network information. Oh, awesome. Yeah, so DNS answers. So you can actually return individual answers to questions from DNS requests. So if you wanted to actually just return question, and it'll actually return, here's the actual name properties of a DNS request that you typically find like a log file or anything. It'll give you the class as well as some sort of name for that request, who the actual registered domain was, and the type of request. So you can grab all that different information and use it for your needs. Let me see if there is a better example here. We'll just get a URL. So I can actually just get a randomly generated URL based on different protocols, different domain names that are again are random, as well as IDs for parameters as far as API calls and all that, and it's all again randomly generated. All right. So one of the coolest things I think is like products. So for products, you can actually get Elastic information, and you can actually get an entire Elastic document. And a document is basically a log record within Elastic. Holy crap! Did that just break? Oh my god! Yeah. That's what you get for going live, huh? So here's a hit. This is basically, if you were going to do an actual search for an Elastic, this would be the return structure. Again, this is all, this will be better explained in the actual code than command line because it's so huge. But this is an actual, index hit. You can actually just generate, let's say, you just want one of them. Oh man, this is what I get for being There we go. Just didn't wait. So here's an actual, hit that's returned. It's a single one, but it'll actually return back, the type, all the way down to the laptop or the computer name, as well as a different access. What kind of Microsoft Windows process was it? Executable agent name that was running on that system, provider, Windows. You can see there's API, the Win event log, computer name, all that information. So typical, you know, that you would see in a Windows event log. So if we go to logs, we can actually look at Windows. So if I just wanted to get Windows, and I'm doing this purposely to show you the help. If you don't know, exactly, what you're looking for, again, just type in something. It'll tell you what you did wrong if you did anything wrong. But you could actually just say Windows event log. And here's the raw XML for a, what is this one? Is an event by event ID 74 or 4723. Yeah, so it's just a basic Windows event log. XML is not the cleanest that you do. So if you actually run it again, you'll see it's a little bit different. It's just kind of randomly generating these log events based on their IDs, as well as the typical information found, like process ID and thread IDs, that then you can then send off to, let's say, Elastic or to any other kind of log repository in a pretty easy manner. So let me see what else we want to. All right, so we're going to go USM. And so this is a typical response that you would get from an alert from Alienball USM. And here you can see you have the application protocol name, you have destination longitude and latitude. That's something that's actually pretty cool. Location. So you can get randomly and it's pretty accurate fake data for a specific country and region. And it'll actually give you the longitude and latitude for that location. So you can look, there's Africa, St. Helena, Jamestown. Whoops. I hit. Moroni, let's see, Asia, Maldives, Myanmar, so on and so forth. So you can get all this kind of general location information that if you needed to just have some, random information for longitude, latitude, and all that, it's all there. All right. So let me switch over to the actual code base here and show you a little bit more in detail. All right, not that. All right, well, one sec. Sorry, guys. I closed my window. All right. So let me expand this out. I'll just create a new file. I got this damn new keyboard and it's small. All right. So the first thing you're going to do once it's actually installed from a Python, you've installed it via pip, is you're going to say, from soc-faker, import soc-faker. And it's capitalized, for the class or whatnot. But we will just kind of do a general instantiation. You can actually provide additional parameters. We'll kind of we can go over those if we have time, but they're nothing too special. So what we're doing is we're importing that class or importing the package soc-faker, and then we're actually accessing it directly or instantiating it, and now we can actually access it. So we can say soc-faker, and then if you're using Visual Studio Code or some sort of IDE, it'll actually give you some help here. So if you don't know what you're looking for, yeah, it's all kind of here. We can say like, let's get some registry hive information. And again, I'm just going to print this just for simplicity here, and say Python 3 soc-faker test. And so we're going to get that hive of HKey local machine, right? But you can also just get, again, that entire object in this entire dictionary where you have a key, the hive, as well as the root that it's running in, the type of key that it is, and the value, unfortunately, is unknown in this. But we can, grab a lot of this information and share it out. Let's see, what else? What have I not shown? We get container information. You're going to get randomly like a container ID in a typical hash format, as well as like a name and the runtime with Docker, and any kind of tags or typical for containers in general. You can access all of that as well as, let's see, it's HTTP. You're the request actually was, and how much did the body have, and refer, and all of this kind of general data that you would find in like logs around HTTP information is all going to be fake and generated, but you can use it to your advantage. One thing that I was showing was the what was that? Oh, so we can actually get vulnerability information. And what I mean by that is that you can actually provide how many like hosts that you want. By default, it's one, as well as how many critical vulnerabilities that you may want, or how many high or low. And we can actually just print out, let's say, like host information for that vulnerability. Where the hell did my cursor go? Oh, lost it. All right. It's gonna take a minute because it's loading a bunch of libraries, lots of data. The first time kind of that you're running it, because I'm not trying to load up everything all at once. But once it actually goes here, it'll print out a lot of data, and it'll probably scroll through it. I say that, man, demo guides, dude, they rule. Come on. Well, let's just print out a vulnerability. There we go. So here's a typical information that you would find in any vulnerability like scanning system like PolishGuard. This is actually from Tenable, but you can see that it'll actually have the full description for a vulnerability, as well as all field description information. Lots of data. List of different bugs or IDs. See also links. These are actual, real vulnerabilities, real data. It'll actually give you, base course of CVSS, CVSS3, so on and so forth, all in a generated format, as well as all the CVEs that it belongs to, synopsis, risk factor, and again, these are all real. It's just kind of random generated data that's just been collected over time and added in as accessible data. So we have that, general vulnerability information, but, we may want to take some of this information and actually, how do we actually use it from the perspective of, I want to send, using that same example, using those role, let's say Windows, then look, I'm actually going to say like sysmon, and we're going to print out a sysmon log. Again, this is going to be that raw XML. but this is a sysmon log. It's very specifically, I have all of the sysmon log types in here, and it's all randomly generated again. All the process GUI IDs, the target and the file names and the timestamps and like all that stuff is all generated, so it's never being reused. But you can again take all of these raw logs and then just pass them on into, let's say, Elastic or something like that. So if we were going to actually do that, I will show you an example, and I think I have a box up that I can use. Maybe if not, let me actually. I will do that over here. This is another project that will be out soon, like super soon. So actually run this. This is all full Docker Compose, and it's actually going to go and set up an entire Elastic instance for me with SSL certificates and all that. So we could talk about that if you're interested, but it's coming out soon. While that's doing that, one of the things that we want to do is actually make an HTTP call or an API call to Elastic. So to do that, we're going to actually need to use the request library, and we will actually, I have some code that I'm just going to open up and copy, because it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to type. So 1 sec. And I'll just share this code out, but we're going to maybe, if my computer doesn't be slow crap. All right, so I'm just going to open up a new file here. Going to name it Elastic test. And okay, so in this code, while that's setting up in the background, basically we're going to import that same library that we were doing, the soc-faker, import it in. We're going to actually import requests and JSON. JSON is a built-in lib, but you still have to bring it in. But request is a third party, which you have to install. If you're not using requests, you definitely should, in my opinion. Also, there's an additional class within request called auth, and you can actually import HTTP basic auth. And what we're going to do is we specify the host name that we want to hit. So we're hitting Elasticsearch, my local host, which is 0.0.0.0, 9200, the port 9200. Here's our actual, index name. We're just creating one called winlogbeat. Here's my username and password. I'm actually passing in these additional headers. If you want to find more info about all that, let me know. But we are then just creating this endpoint. And what we're doing is we're going to iterate through 100 times. So while count is less than or equal to 100. And then for soc-faker.products.elastic.documents, I know it's pretty long, but .git, we're going to actually parse through each one of those and post them to Elastic. So we'll be able to see those logs coming in here shortly once this is up. Man, this is like demo hell. I know. All right, well, that's doing that. So what we're doing is that here I'm just modifying some create and using the current timestamp. I'm just overriding some parameters. You could do that as part of the, you don't have to do it. It just basically right now it's generating them by the past 30 days. And I wanted a more I wanted the actual event dates in Elastic to actually be part of the, you know, today. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a post request to that endpoint. We're going to pass in those headers that we set up above, and then we're actually passing in the data as JSON. We're sending this off and we're not verifying SSL because, well, we can't, basically because it's a self-signed certificate. Let that go. At the same time, while we're waiting on that, I bring this up and show you, because I think I'm running closer on time, but let me share out another cool piece, I think. So you've seen soc-faker, as it is, and it's a quick tool from the command line that you just need some fake data, whether it's timestamps or TLS information or vulnerabilities or whatever you need, and it's rapidly expanding. I'm writing fakers for a lot of different products and keeping it pretty up to date. The one thing that I realized, though, that a lot of people may want to actually not download and have to implement anything. They may want to integrate it into, their product or their testing or whatever it is. So what I did is I actually created it's soc-faker, soc-faker.com. And here is a full web app. It's running Flask. It's behind Swag. Swag is Nginx and fail to ban and like all that stuff on the front. Let's encrypt certificates, all that. But really, it's all around generating that fake data from a web component. So there's two different sides to this. There's a full-blown API, and I'll show you that. But for general, you can actually just select the individual endpoints here. And again, just similar to what we were seeing earlier, we can actually just call the alert endpoint, and it'll bring back full data that you can actually, use or grab or copy or whatever. So that's an agent, or yeah, that was an alert. But if you just wanted the specific property, like the, from, or let's say signature name, this global link, hen game, whatever the hell that signature name is. But additionally, again, we have that full API, and it'll actually show you, hey, this was the GET request that we did to get this. But if you wanted to actually use the API, we provide you, and it actually generates code for you in both PowerShell and Python to render or to use to generate and return this data back to you. So it'll return everything that's in these kind of squirrely brackets, and if you just make this kind of HTTP request. But in order to do that, you have to actually provide this key. And this is a specific token. It's pretty easy to use. You can actually, up in the top right-hand corner, actually that's the front. So you can see you can use the endpoints, or you can actually request a token. So you can request a token by actually just clicking on request token. And yeah, I don't have a great example. I don't think I want to log in, but I might. Why are you being a jerk? Yeah, I'm not signed in. So it'll, what the hell is going on? That's what I meant. All right, just don't listen to me, I guess. There it is. Shit. What the hell? I don't know why that took so long. So what it'll do is it'll actually email you a randomly generated passphrase of the funniest words that I could ever find. There's 5,000 of them, so it's all random, but it'll generate random links and all that one-time token or a token that you can use. All you have to do is provide that email. If you forget that token or you want to reset it, you just have to go back in here and actually just enter your email address again, and it will send you a brand new token and update it in our database. but I don't have any like paid stuff or anything. I just want to know, hey, I'm not getting confused, and I know that I was using what. But that's really the only point. Didn't want any of your information like username, and all that shit. So there you go. And again, they'll have like full, Python and PowerShell examples of how to actually interact. If you wanted to actually get to the documentation of SOC-faker, you can see here. But I think the coolest thing is, and I'll go back to, let's say, host information. Yeah, it's going to take a minute. Oh, beep boop. So that was on purpose. This is kind of cool too. I think is I randomly generate these images for you because hey, why not? So if you ever get an error, it'll always be random. So let me step 1 second back and change my window. I just want to see if that other box started. Of course, you're going to close on me. All right. Well, I have bind issues on my network. So basically, so with this, you're going to actually, make this HTTP request. It's going to actually build out these headers and, build out that endpoint, and you can actually just randomly generate. So for now, I will just, I'm going to actually just print this doc. And just to show you what we would post to Elastic. And so I'm going to say back here, yeah, we're going to run that. And it's putting a pause in there, but this is the entire document. It's everything in the Elastic Common Schema. If you're not familiar with Elastic Common Schema, it is a standard schema that Elastic is adopting around all their security products. But they have every piece of the Elastic Common Schema is actually mapped out and generated for you, whether it's code signature, container, destination IP addresses, and source DLL information. PE information, like Windows executable PE information, DNS requests and questions, events, files and their hashes, host information, HTTP, I know I'm going fast, network, package, registry keys, server information, source information, so on and so forth. So, and it'll actually just go, and because we're not hitting that port, it's going to fail. But for the most part, yeah, it's an entire ECS document that we can just post and generate randomly and test our detection rules or any other kind of data that we want. Well, all the blunders was fun. I'm never going to do this again, so it's a joke, but I'll probably ramble for more. If you want to know more, man, soc-faker.com. Again, the repo is at GitHub, GitHub/swimlane/soc-faker. If you're interested in the Docker ELK or the ELK TLS, let me know. If you're interested in any other projects, I have quite a few. Sorry, that's one last thing I am going to show, and then I'll shut up. Is on my GitHub, you can see a lot of the different products. Is the GitHub like Markdown homepage or whatever. But if you scroll down, these are kind of the traditional bigger projects, I guess, that I work on that are outside of my repository, but I maintain. Pyatech, SOC-faker, PC, PS, CVSS, PS Attack, Graphish, PyEWS. But then I have like, I don't know, 90 whatever random repositories of stuff that you can go play with. There might be some bugs as you've seen, but let me know if there is, and I'll get them fixed. So thanks for having me. I hope everyone's being safe. Hope everyone is okay and healthy. And if you ever want to reach out and talk, just let me know. I'm around. Wu-Tang.
Nice. So we can open this up for questions for a few minutes. If you want to talk on here, awesome. If you don't want to talk on here, feel free to type something into general.
I'm just reading through the thread here. Awesome. I'm glad you find it useful. I hope that it really is, useful. I think it is. I think there's a huge market for it, especially as it expands. There's so many different vendor locked, whatever, products or tools. Like, how would I even integrate this damn thing into my stack? Like, how would you even, have Defender ATP logs into my, SIM? How would you even process it before you have to like purchase it and set it up and like do all that stuff where you just maybe want to test some shit? That was kind of the whole point. And again, I'm trying to expand it more. It's time more than anything and need. So if someone has a need, let me know, and it's a higher priority for sure for me. Yeah, exactly. The Fisher Price, yeah.
Well, very good stuff, man.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
that was outstanding. No, really appreciate you. Really appreciate you doing it. I know that you've kind of had this one in your back pocket for a little while, and it was super interesting. I'm really glad that we were able to get it in.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of different use cases for it, QA and all that. But I think that just kind of, man, you know how many times I just want to know the damn format of I just need a random hash to go and like test something against virus total, like just to like test shit, or just like, hey, is this field gonna take a hash here? Like, I'm gonna try this out, and
Right.
I don't want to use a good one, so I'm just gonna randomly generate one. Yeah, shit like that.
Yeah, no, I one of the things I do is generate tabletop exercises, and I can definitely see using this to come up with messages for people to have to parse out and figure out. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like a CTF, I think would be like a huge. If you build CTFs or whatever, like you just need data. There it is. Yeah. What the hell is that? Someone shooting a gun or fireworks? I can't tell. So.
Yeah, who knows? Right now, could be either.
True.
All right. Well, I'm going to hop up for about 6 minutes, but thank you very much. I am also going to throw out a quick shout out to Mr. Clever Exploit, who gave us a serious server boost, clearly inspired by the level of presentation that soc-faker was. So huge thanks goes out to Clever Exploit for that. That was outstanding. Very much appreciated. All right, well, we're going to give this about 5 minutes. 8:35. We're actually kicking off a pre-recorded one. That way we could accomplish a little bit of a toured action, but I've seen it already, and I'm going to watch it again because it's that good on Pent My Log. So be here at 8:35 for that. All right.